Hey everybody, Alex Kozora from SteelersDepot.com doing our weekly talk to the tape. Now, of course, the Steelers were on a bye with wildcard weekends, so not a lot we're going to focus on with the Steelers themselves. What we are going to talk about today is a look at their opponent, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and maybe one of the biggest concerns about an offense that obviously is underwhelming, to say the least, though, as we talk about how bad the Jaguars offense is, and yeah, it's not good. They scored more points per game this year than the Steelers. I think since they scored more than 2 points a game than Pittsburgh, and as the defense helped, and there's a little bit of skew to that. But I saw that doing some research earlier. I thought that was funny that statistically the Jaguars scored more points than the Steelers did. But what we're here to talk about today is keeping Blake Bortles within the pocket. He's probably at his best and most dangerous when he's outside the pocket, outside the structure of the play. And we saw that against the Bills in the wildcard game where he made his biggest plays with his legs, not his arm, rushed for a yard more than he passed for, and made some big plays for that. And one of the things that helped him do that was just, Buffalo not having good rush lane integrity and creating those lanes for Bortles to run to. It's an area the Steelers have had problems in throughout the year. We're going to look at that as well, but we're going to start with the wildcard game and a couple of the big runs that Blake Bortles had. So the first one here, it's going to be a four-man rush from Buffalo. And you get both guys coming up the arc here. So you don't have anyone kind of sitting in where the B gap would be here to help contain Bortles. It creates an escape lane. And with the linebacker turning and running here, he loses vision on the football. Bortles is able to step up and run and get a 20-yard gain out of it. This is right before the end of the half. Buffalo is leading 3-0. Could have taken that lead in the halftime. Excuse me. But Bortles used his legs several times to get him into field goal range to tie things up. So again, D-tackle here gets pushed up by the right guard. There's an escape lane, a little bit of pressure, flushes Bortles. Linebacker playing man coverage, or at least turning and getting his eyes to the tight end. It's not really man coverage, just taking the over route. And it's a 20-yard gain. So we'll look at it one more time, go on a couple other plays. But this is the problem. This is when Bortles is going to be most effective, when you give him that escape lane. A couple more here from the second half. Or first half into the second quarter, I should say. 2 plays after this. 28 seconds left. Gonna bluff with a linebacker. He drops out, comes the other way. Now you do get a good 5-man pressure here. You get the defensive back on the blitz. Back misses. But the end here loses contain. The end has this outside contain responsibility. He starts to cheat inside, seeing there's pressure, thinks he can get a sack. He gets contained by the left tackle Robinson, creates an escape lane, and now Bortles has a free lane to run for 12 yards. So again, this could have been a really positive play if the end keeps contained here. 95. I think it's Kyle Williams. He's a veteran guy. So he's got the edge here as the away side linebacker drops out on the DB blitz. But he loses contain, tries to cheat inside, and that creates the escape lane. So it would have been a positive play for Buffalo if Williams probably just keeps contained. Bortles has got to now stay in the pocket. Pressure's going to get there. The DB here is probably going to get back up. I think that's White or someone. And so creates a 12-yard gain. Gets Jacksonville comfortably into field goal range, and they get points out of it. Last one we'll look at from this game. Try to go through these pretty quickly because you get the idea now. Late third quarter. I think this is their lone scoring drive. Yeah. A touchdown drive for Jacksonville. Another 10-yard gain on 2nd and 9. We'll look at it here. Play action. 4-man rush. Again, losing contain to the outside. An escape lane there. Not sure exactly what Buffalo was trying to do here. The tackle ends up coming up on Fournette. But, there's just a bit of a breakdown there. It's kind of a sloppy play all around. But again, escape lane, Bortles runs. And, he's going to be a pretty tough guy with it. He's not going to go out of bounds. And so he ends up getting the first down out of it. Look at it one more time. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh now. This might be a little clunky to try to go through it all, but it's a couple examples I think of Pittsburgh having some trouble. I thought they did a nice job at the start of the year with their rush lane integrity. I thought it was a big issue last year. One reason why they didn't get the sacks that they did. They couldn't finish plays even when they got pressure. But I thought it kind of waned as the season went along. And it's not just Week 17. I know that was a problem Week 17. The Steelers generally attributed that to guys doing too much, trying to go for the sack record, which, okay. But it was not just that week. So we're going to go to the first matchup. Now, to be fair, this is the only scramble that Bortles had that day, but it came at a pretty big moment and was a positive play for him. 3rd and 9, Jacksonville's 9-yard line. Steelers have him backed up. It's going to be a 4-man rush. And again, remember like that first play we showed with the DT getting pushed upfield by the right guard? Same thing happens with Tua here. Tua gets pushed up, creates the escape lane, a little bit of pressure. Now Bortles can step and climb. If Tua's still there, Bortles has nowhere to go. And Bortles picks up a first down on 3rd and 9. Now Jacksonville does not get points out of this. They end up having to punt, but it totally flips field position. Steelers end up starting the ensuing drive, I think, inside their 10-yard line. If the Steelers get a stop here, they probably get the ball around midfield. Great field position, 20 yards, you're in easy field goal range for Chris Boswell. Doesn't end up happening. So, Jacksonville's game is not always going to be getting points on every offensive possession. It's going to be changing field position, letting their defense go to work, and then get good field position on the ensuing punt, and giving their offense a short field to work. That's kind of going to be their MO. So again, Tua gets pushed upfield. It's 4-man rush. Bortles gets away from Ryan Shazier, and it's a first down. So a big play in this game, even though it doesn't show up in any sort of meaningful, direct scoring opportunity. But it wasn't just this game. We're going to go to Week 12 now. Let me just click through and find the right game. Third and 6 now. Brett Hundley, mobile quarterback in there. Going to be another 4-man rush. I'll run it back. What happens here? Steelers are running a cross stunt with the defensive lineman with Tuitt and Hayward. Just basically exchanging gaps. But what ends up happening here is Hayward's not able to cross the face of the right guard. He gets hooked up by the center and then the right guard. He's not able to come over the top of him and help contain this. Dupree might get pushed upfield a little bit, but I put this more on Hayward for losing his gap. Again, not able to secure and get to the outside shoulder of the guard here. He gets caught up, creates an escape lane for Hundley to take advantage of, who climbs the pocket, feels a little pressure from Dupree. Again, Hayward can't get there. And then Hundley rushes for the first down on 3rd and 6. We'll run it through one more time. Again, 4-man rush. And the Packers convert. Last one we'll look at comes in Week 16 against the Texans. And again, these aren't elite quarterbacks here that are doing this. They're just mobile guys with, ability to run with the football. And that's what Bortles is. He's a below-average quarterback, but you give any quarterback an escape lane, or, with the way the Steelers, in a separate issue, have blown coverages, you give any of those guys the ability to throw to a wide-open receiver, whether that's Kaiser in Week 17 or Hundley or whatever, they're going to make plays. So this is all about Steelers not beating Steelers. I'm trying to make sure I have the right play here for this. Here we go. Now, as a preface, because I know it's going to get pointed out in the comment section, yes, Cam Hayward is held on this play, and no, it is not called. But fortunately, playoff time, you're not going to, yelling at the refs is not going to do any good. There's no go get him next time. You just have to live with the calls and the non-calls. Still, I think same issues are happening here. Tua getting pushed out of his gap here. I don't want to say he's getting pushed out. I mean, I don't know exactly what the rush responsibility is, but bottom line, a 4-man rush here, there's going to be an open gap here to the A gap side. Hayward can't get over in time. Again, that's where the holding's probably going to be at, but I would like to see this be a little bit cleaner. I still think it's a pretty big space for Hayward to try to control everything like this. Yates initially ducks to the left, so Hayward comes to the left. Then Yates kind of changes directions and cuts to his right. We'll kind of go slow here. You feel some pressure. He starts to go to his left maybe a little bit. Hayward's thinking, I got to contain him to this side. Then trying to cross the center's face. It's asking a lot out of Hayward. Ends up happening here is you just got bodies on the ground. Last thing you want as a pass rushing unit is, guys off their feet. If you're off your feet, you can't compete. And that's what happens here with Dupree and Tuitt. Kind of running into each other, tripping over each other. Now you're asking Hayward to basically do everything on this play. Hayward's good, but he's not that good. And so I think there's some containment problems here as well. Yates able to scramble, picks up I think 11 on 3rd and 9 or whatever it was. He gets a first down out of it. So we'll look at it again. Seeing some issues there. And yes, you could argue holding calls, but at the end of the day, I don't really care about that. I care about, did you stay on your feet, did you, play your responsibility, play your gap, did you contain the quarterback, and ultimately the Steelers failed to do that. Last thing we're going to look at is, and a play I showed before in a separate video back in week 1, so a long time ago, is something that I would do to contain Bortles, and I think something that, is going to be a little bit more effective. Because the bottom line here is that a 4-man rush is hard to contain the quarterback. It's just a numbers game. You got 5 linemen, you got 4 rushers. It's hard to do pass rush and contain, especially if the play extends, and to keep the quarterback within the pocket. So I think a 5-man rush is going to be more effective at this because you're going to even up the numbers, you're going to even up the gaps, and you're not going to be as susceptible to letting Bortles break contain naturally. In every play but one clip we showed, whether that was Buffalo or Pittsburgh, it was a 4-man rush. The other was a 5-man rush on a blitz. The rest were 4-man. So that's kind of tough to do. So here's an example of it, and there's several from this Cleveland game. Kaiser, a mobile quarterback. Make sure I find it here. Let's see, early in the first quarter. One of the, I think, 7 sacks the Steelers ended up having this game. This is one was sent with a 5-man rush. And again, if you go back to the week 1 video we did on this game, I praise the Steelers for keeping Kaiser within the pocket. It was such a big turnaround after 2016 where they really struggled with this. So a 5-man rush here. Could contain everywhere. He gets some pressure. Kaiser wants to duck outside. Vince Williams off the edge does a great job recognizing that. Getting his outside arm free. Now he keeps Kaiser within the pocket. Kaiser has to reset. And you get, I think that's Chickalo here coming from the backside to finish the play. 5-man rush. Every gap taken away. Nothing. Kaiser can't climb. He can't get to the outside. Tries to go outside. He can't. Now he's forced to reset. Time. Good coverage. Results in a sack. I think we've heard a lot about spying the quarterback. You might get a little of that with Bortles, but I'm not crazy about it because this is not Michael Vick. Bortles is a good athlete, but he's not at that level, and I just hate kind of, quote-unquote, burning a player to sit there and not do anything. He's not rushing, he's not covering, he's just kind of sitting in the middle of the field. You're kind of playing a man down in that situation. I mean, I get the idea of spying, but I personally would rather rush 5. Let that guy get after the quarterback. Let's get some pressure on Bortles rather than just kind of sitting there and waiting for something that may or may not happen. I think that's going to help with the rush lane integrity aspect while helping with your pass rush. So I think, I'm not saying you have to blitz guys, or at least, not, safeties and outside corners, but yeah, send a linebacker. Or, stay in your base defense and rush all 5 guys. The 3 down linemen and the outside linebackers. Don't drop anyone. Not every time. Of course, you have to be varied with it. I'm not trying to say to do one thing all the time. That's a recipe for disaster. But I think a good 5-man rush is going to help, A, get pressure, and B, help with your rush lane integrity, with your gap control, and keep Bortles within the pocket. Because that's what you want to do to beat Blake Bortles. Again, keep him in the pocket, not let him get outside the structure of the play, not let him beat you with his legs. I think he's capable of it if you go with a 4-man rush, because of just the natural, difficulty of doing that when you're sending only 4 guys versus 5, potentially more blockers if a back stays in, a tight end stays in, whatever the case, excuse me, may be. So this is kind of high on my list of concerns, things to watch for in Sunday's, excuse me, again, in Sunday's game. Before I start hacking and coughing again all over like I did in the video the other day, I'll wrap this video up. But that's what I want to look at. I think that's something that's, again, high on the list of things to look at to contain Blake Bortles. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about stopping Jacksonville's offense, what you would do to stop it. Dave and Dave on the podcast had a great discussion about it for Wednesday's show, so go back and listen to that if you have not already. Again, if you're following me, leave a comment whether you're watching this on YouTube, Steelers Depot. Follow me on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.